Good afternoon, everybody. It is the witching hour, so we are going to go ahead and start today's Transportation Technical Coordinating Meeting. It's a little after 1, and this is Wednesday, July 13th. I am Jeff O'Brien. I'm with Louisville Metro Government and chairing the TTCC. So we'll go around the room and introductions. Welcome all.
Larry Cheney with TIPTA.
Emily, if you...
Oh, on this one, I'm sorry. Louisville Metro Planning Design Services.
Thomas Witt, KYTC. Greg Rawlings, Federal Highway Administration, Kentucky Division.
Dirk Goins, Louisville Metro Public Works.
Matthew Yates, City of Jefferson Town.
Brian Richardson, Bolt County.
Michelle King, Air Pollution Control District.
John Watkins, Southern Indiana Transit Advisory Group.
Andy Crouch, City of Jeffersonville.
Justin Tackett, Floyd County.
Brittany Montgomery, Town of Clarksville.
Scott Stewart for the Port of Indiana.
Jim Urban, Oldham County.
Ashley Davidson, Kipta.
David Burton, Kipton.
Amanda Dethridge with Kipta.
Chris Heimer, KYTC.
Tina Swansweger, KYTC.
Tim Emmington, Toronto. Andy Rush, Kipton.
Sarah Fair, Kipta.
Lori Kelsey, Kipta.
Mary Lou Waller with Kipta.
Adam Forsyth, Kipton.
Nick Vale, Kipton.
John Mattil, Michael Baker International.
Jeff Schaefer, HDR.
Nancy Snow, TARC, and the Regional Mobility Council.
Paul Feisinger, Louisville Metro.
Andy Cash, Associates.
John Callahan, Louisville Metro.
Michael Whitfield with the Ohio Administration.
Craig Butler, Louisville Metro Air Pollution Control.
Bob Stein, United Consulting.
Brian Mead, AE.
Excellent. Welcome, everybody. The first order after that is our meeting minutes from June 8th, 2016. I assume everybody's had an opportunity to review the minutes, so I'd entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do you have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the minutes are passed. Okay, the next portion on the agenda is the public comment period. So if there are any members of the public wishing to make comments, now is the time to do that. Do I have any members of the public wishing to make a comment? Going once, going twice. Okay, being no comments, moving right along to the Transportation Policy Committee report. Larry Cheney.
Yes, sir. The Transportation Policy Committee last met June 23rd, and at that meeting we had some changes made to the Indiana dedicated funding projects from the various funding sources. We also had a presentation by Mindy Peterson from the Ohio River Bridges Project, mainly concerned with the tolling and timing and where you could buy your transponders and all of that information. A lot of that is on their website, so if you need information, please go there and check it out. They are very, very close to opening the locations where you can buy your transponders and start your accounts. Yeah, you can also do it online. We had a presentation from our own Ticket to Ride, Stacy Burton, talking about the things changes that we're making to our website and to our project management software that will provide a lot more information to our own constituents and people that are interested in starting a van pool or rideshare. And we also had some discussions with our project management process, which many of you are involved. We are going to have another meeting here shortly, Monday after next, and try to iron out some of the things that were discussed at that meeting so we can move forward with that process. We appreciate your involvement with that as well. That concludes the report.
Okay, thank you very much, Larry. Okay, next up on the agenda, Mr. Rush is going to come up and talk to us about the KIPTA Regional Traffic Count Database.
All right, it should be brief here, but I'm going to provide you all with an update of something that we're fairly proud of here, and that is our Regional Traffic Count Database. Okay, it's coming. It's coming. I'm looking at it. There you go. There it is. For those of you that don't know, a couple years ago, 3 years ago, let's say, we added a traffic count database to our website. Nothing fancy, but nothing to takes a lot of work and effort to keep up to date. So the reason I'm here today is just to announce that we've really gone through probably the most thorough update that we've probably done with this database. We've added about 1,000 counts over the past 6 weeks or so. And probably even more impressive than adding those 1,000 counts were the deletion of about 500 or so redundant counts. Because what we found is we're getting to a point now where we might have too many. Where we'd have 2 or 3 or 4 counts. 2 or 3 of these points will be over the same segment of roadway. So more than what's useful. There's Shelby County. Let's scoot in toward town. So these counts come from a variety of sources. Probably about 40% are KYTC counts. Maybe 40% are Louisville Metro counts that they count under contract with KIPTA. Probably 10% are NDOT counts, and probably 10% are miscellaneous. Those are the counts that KIPTA staff might count, or counts related to the Bridges project, let's say. So what this does, again, just for review for those that don't know. So here's Shelbyville Road in front of Mall St. Matthews, let's say. Most of us probably spent some time over there. Real easy, real simple. That's a 2010, so that's a bit of an old one. Here's a 2013 count, 54,000. So it's got real simple information. The roadway, the year of the count, who counted it in the count. These are all ADTs. And what we found over the years, the past few years, is that the number of calls that we get for traffic counts, we used to get those all the time. And now we get far fewer of those. So I think word has gotten out a little bit here. It's not proof, it's not conclusive, but we looked up some of the information on our website and through the Google Analytics just to see how the traffic's coming into our website. And this is actually the second, how should I say it? The page that people go to directly second most other than our homepage. So of all the KIPTA.org, everything that's under that, if you will, people are going to this second most. It's not a lot, but it's still several hundred a month, let's say 200-300 a month. So something to be proud of. I would encourage everyone in this room to use it, to recommend people to it, provide feedback whenever you have it to me or somebody else here. We're always updating it. We've got a bunch of counts that are due from Louisville Metro. Brittany just told me that NDOT or somebody's out there traffic counting in Clarksville right now. So what NDOT does what are called coverage counts, where they count the same spot every so often, every 3 years typically. So we'll update those shortly too. Be happy to show it off a little bit further. I mean, there's not a whole lot to it, but like I said, if there's any feedback, I'd be happy to take it either today or any other time. And any questions? That's all I got.
A comment and question. We get calls from private developers a lot asking what traffic counts on certain roads, and we always direct them to this, and they don't call back after that. Once they see this, they get what they need and they go back to it, I think.
One thing that I would offer to anyone, certainly to everybody in this room, is that we keep up to date at the same time a shapefile, same stuff, same information.
Okay.
And so sometimes that might be better for some of the consultants and contractors in the room. They might want to map it or do something a little bit different with it. And I'd be happy to share that as well, just via email or whatever.
What are the colors?
Oh yeah, that's not a major change, but what that is, it just, and maybe I need a key or something or a legend, different year of the count.
Okay.
Okay. And you'll notice in Louisville Metro, you'll see a lot of those. If I zoom out, it's maybe even more apparent. You see a lot of them in clusters.
Mm-hmm.
What those often represent, like right there, you see some purple cluster right there. Those are turning movement counts. And so that one count, we've done by video now. So you take a 12-hour video of an intersection, and that video data is processed, and the turning movements, the through movements, etc., are processed, and we've got a good count that we adjust to come up with an ADT volume. So that those clusters we get 4 counts for the price of 1, if you will. So one intersection count equals, on a 4-legged intersection, equals 4 counts that we'll add to our data here.
So those traffic counts, are they raw traffic counts, or are they adjusted for seasonal variation to get?
All of them should have been adjusted seasonally. Okay, so the transportation cabinet does that. We do that for ours, and we do that for the ones that we process from Louisville Metro, of which are a huge number. Again, 40%-ish, 40% cabinet, 40% Metro, 20% other. So they all should represent, to the best of our ability, the AADT, average annual daily traffic. That's our intention.
Okay.
And quite frankly, some of these counts probably are of a little less quality. The intersection turn move account, most of those are 12 hours, some are 24, but that 12-hour number is adjusted to come up with 24 hours, just like 48 is adjusted to get you back to that 24 number as well. So that 48 to 24 is a better adjustment, right? Than 12 to 24, because we don't always know what's going on typically in the middle of the night. And that might differ from an area near a factory where there's third shift employment or something like that.
Do you communicate that information to J.D. Tomlinson at KYTC?
Yeah.
So he can...
Yeah, we've had a lot of communication with JD in particular about clarifications and kind of what's going on with certain spots that look off, or if you will.
Yeah, since it's in kind of the same units that we use, I was thinking if we weren't already sharing it, we could incorporate that into our database too.
No, the cabinet had, just to give some perspective, I think it was with the most recent count data, and what kind of drove this recent update was the release of the Transportation Cabinet's 2015 counts. It just came out probably in May, let's say. And then I think there were about almost 375, 400 counts just in Jefferson County alone. About maybe 100 of them, or close to 100, were new stations. Most of those were on interstate ramps. And so that's good, because the ramps have gone uncounted. For whatever reason, they've gone uncounted over the years. And so there's been a push to get those counted, which is really useful information.
Under certain scenarios, we require traffic impact statements for development. Do you accept those if we have a traffic consultant do?
Sure.
Will you take the counts and put them in? Because, and then what would be the criteria? Typically they're doing, usually they do like 3-day count and get peak hours. That information that.
For the most part, I would say more is anything is acceptable.
Okay.
I don't have that low of standards, or sound like we have that low of standards. But like I said, these 12-hour counts that are typically 7 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Yeah.
We're making certain assumptions about the overnight traffic, if you will. So a count that is more than the peak hour counts, if you will. If it's 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, that's a tougher extrapolation. But yeah, we'd accept anything, I would say.
We would vet it, we would evaluate it, we just wouldn't
Okay.
accept
Yeah.
I need to send you all those because we got a bunch of them that we're doing now that things are picking up a little bit, and they're on streets that you wouldn't normally get counts, like
That's right.
Commerce Parkway or someplace. But at least if you are willing to put them into the database and it's accessible to everybody.
Yeah, what we'd run into sooner or later, if impact studies, if all of Oldham County was studied, we'd have a similar problem, good problem, that we have in Jefferson County now, where arguably we have too many counts, where we have several counts along the same meaningful segment of roadway.
Okay.
And so we would, when I said I deleted 500 of them, effectively I chose the best one of the 2 or 3 that were available to us. Typically it was the newest, but oftentimes it was I took that 48-hour count instead of the 12-hour count, because the quality judgment there.
I have 2 questions. One is related to the location of those count stations. Do you happen to have it latted along one?
Yes, that's
other
all of these counts, and that's probably one of the most time-consuming things is to, as the best of our abilities, accurately put latitude and longitude on those. For the transportation cabinet counts specifically, some of those are at the midpoints of their segments that they've counted for years, and so that is a bit of a deficiency in here. And sometimes we've had that be what appears to be maybe a meaningful difference. Where putting that point at the midpoint of a 2-mile segment, oftentimes shorter in the urban area, is not ideal. We would love to have the exact location of all their counts. That would be a nice addition or a nice update.
Second question is related to the usability of the data. Do you happen to have, besides the visual, do you happen to have the ability to have a tabulated outcome or output?
Yeah, I would be able to provide the same data both in shapefile format or in a database, Excel type or attribute table for the shapefile that goes along with the shapefile. So I would have it by source too, if that mattered.
It's a Google Fusion application, so there's an Excel spreadsheet that has to be developed to feed the map.
I've got a question.
Sure.
This kind of give you the basic information about that specific data point. So if you want to know more, what time of day or what season that was conducted, 2013, you can contact, I guess, the source like the Public Works or Oldham County.
You could contact me and we would probably be able to look that up.
Okay.
For the most part, I think we could answer that question. You know, what date exactly was that count? I think we can at least answer that question.
It could be misleading.
For the most part, I can even tell you how it was adjusted.
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah,
AM,
if
PM.
you know the adjustment,
I can tell you, I can give you the adjustment, both the time of day adjustment, the month of year adjustment, if that was important. I can tell you it's 12 hours, 48, 24, all week. Many of these counts are counted for a week.
A week.
Yeah.
Do you also have a database with the actual turning movement counts in it that people could access?
No, I don't have one of the turning movement counts. So to say for that purple cluster we pointed out earlier, how many right turns were at that intersection? No, I don't have that on hand. I have the turning movement counts and I can make that available to them. But no, that would be kind of the next level.
It's not in an easily accessible database or anything like that.
No, I could send them a PDF that shows the diagram. That's really easy to interpret on a case-by-case basis or on a group of them basis or something.
That can be really useful information for some of our projects.
Oh, certainly, yeah.
Intersection improvements and things like that.
Right. Now that the turning movement counts are more than just peak hours, they provide both things. They provide turning movements that we've always wanted to have, but also we can more safely adjust those to ADTs. It's not perfect. By no means is it perfect, but it's certainly better than just having 2 hours in the morning and 2 in the evening.
I think you can recognize those because of the way you calculate it. You usually express that as to the nearest 1,000 or 500.
Yeah.
There's some kind of adjustment for the 12-hour counts that are converted.
They're all rounded, yeah. And
the rounding's included.
Yeah, probably so. But they all should be rounded. I think to the nearest 100 or 500, but almost all are going to be to the nearest 100. I think maybe the big interstate volumes might be to the nearest 1,000. But yeah, they're all going to be rounded.
Any other comments or questions for Andy? Okay, thanks Andy, good information. Okay, next up we have Real-Time System Management Information Program. So we have Chris Lambert and maybe Tina Swanziger. If she'll talk.
Yeah, I'm Chris Lambert. I'm with the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. I work in ITS. I'm going to go ahead and sit down here. Sorry. That way I can drive this thing a little bit. Instead of death by PowerPoint, you guys are just going to have to sit and watch me awkwardly work with this map. So a couple of years ago, this is for Title 23 CFR 511309 through 315 compliance, which is a federal reg that dictates our real-time information system with reporting 10 minutes inside metropolitan area, 20 minutes outside metropolitan area. And what we realized was with our current system and current workflow, there are times when we don't believe that we are compliant with that 10 and 20 minute time frame for observing and reporting back to the public. So
Chris,
what
would you mind stepping back a little bit further for some of the people that don't know what the system is in the first place? What real-time system management even is?
Oh, okay. Back way up. Sorry.
Not too far back, but
okay. Well, I don't know how you want to describe it. It's the currently it's a combination of 511 is what we typically think of with real-time management system, and or Trimark also takes care of Louisville. But it's the combination of traffic and incident information, weather information, and the reporting of that to the public. Is that?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So basically, making information about real-time information available to the public that affects the traveling public. So our travelers. So what we've done is there were some deficiencies or some perceived deficiencies within our system, our current workflow. And we set out about a year ago to develop a snow and ice management system / real-time information management system that was also federally compliant. For what we're doing here, I'm just going to lead you through the map. And what you're seeing, or what you will see, is we aggregate and process about 15 or 20 million records per day. So every 24 hours, we have 15 to 20 million records going through this system. And what you're seeing now is a real-time view or snapshot of those records as they come in and as they're processed. We're currently updating this every 5 minutes. Starting November the 1st, we're going to update this every 2 minutes. So we're going to increase our rate and again, let me just walk through it. So we've got our district polygons here. Obviously, we've got some traffic layers out there at the district level. And again, we're using this a lot for snow and ice because we've had some issues in the last couple of years with interstate closures and things. And where we've got multiple agencies, we've got Transportation Cabinet, Kentucky Emergency Management, Kentucky State Police, we've got Kentucky National Guard, and obviously we've got local law enforcement all trying to coordinate efforts together. So what we've tried to do here is bring together as much information as possible and simplify this so that each of these agencies can view the same, basically the same map or have the same view of information. And we can also take information if they want to share their location with us. I can get into that later. What you're seeing here is we combine traffic data, we combine crowdsourcing data from Waze, we're combining social media data from Twitter, and transportation related data, and all that's being processed through GIS. I'll warn you now, my normal presentation of this map is about an hour and a half, so I will try to run through this in about 15, 20 minutes. So I don't think you need me here. I can talk all day on this thing. This is a tweet I sent out right before. This is a little cloud here. You've got all the districts. This is a tweet that I sent out right before coming to the meeting. And what we're doing here is we're taking social media. We're applying this to the district level. So starting November the 1st, we're going to have each of our districts with a Twitter account. We'll associate their district Twitter account with their district polygon. So anything they tweet out happening in their area, you'll have access to that at a very high level. Zoom in a little bit further, we're going to start seeing some counties. Franklin County, this is another tweet that I sent out. We're using the special feature of Twitter. We're actually processing it twice. If you have a prefix of D05 hyphen on the tweet, then we're grabbing that information and putting that in the District 5 polygon. If you simply send out a tweet with your location services on, it will snap it to the county. And the goal here is that during snow and ice emergencies, typically we have 120 counties reporting to a district office. And then that district office compiles that information, sends that on to the district office or central office. And then central office reports that out to multiple agencies through an email every 2 hours. What we're doing here is we're saying that that's just not good enough. What we need is 5 and 10 minute windows for all of this information in real time. So we want 120 counties reporting their information within 5 to 20 minutes. So we're going to have the goal is to have all of our county offices reporting everything in real time so that no matter where you are, what area you're responsible for, you'll be able to see what we're doing within minutes or seconds of our knowledge of that event.
I've got a question.
Yes,
This is picking up your internal tweets in doing this, or your crowdsourcing tweets and getting this information onto here?
Yes and no. We are, at the moment, we are only grabbing designated Twitter accounts.
Okay.
But we are getting into, if we end up licensing the Firehose Twitter account, Twitter API, we're going to end up grabbing basically everything in the state from Twitter and then taking all of the tweets with spatial information and processing all of those and then trying to filter those out based on what we believe are like traffic accidents. Our HSIP guys are looking at this. Okay. We've got the ability to do this using Spark and Hadoop. We can process millions of records per second. So we're looking to increase that. So our HSIP guys are looking at the Firehose API now, which will allow us millions of records. Right now we're limited to 500,000 records every 15 minutes on Twitter. So it's kind of difficult if you just put out the keyword wreck, or accident.
Right.
That's literally searching all of Twitter for that. So we can't really aggregate that information right now.
Okay.
Using the free API. So here's one with location services on. I was in Frankfurt when I sent this. This attaches to the county. And then we can also, one of our pilot projects is road closure information as well using Twitter. So going one step further, if you tweet something out and you use the precise location, which I don't have one available right now, but if you use precise location and you say like right lane closed, we can snap that to the roadway. So if you're in a construction zone and instead of filling out some form to say that we just switched barrels, you know, closed one lane, open another, you just tweet out right lane closed. We can snap that to the roadway segment, and then you have record of that. So that was at the county level. Now, the temperature information, we're actually grabbing, there's 80 or 90 Kentucky Mesonet stations around the state. We're grabbing that information. We're averaging that per county. And then the pavement temperatures, the green is from our ARVIS stations. And what this does, since we only have 39 ARVIS stations and there's 80 Kentucky Mesonet stations, what we're doing is each county polygon every 5 minutes is going out and finding the nearest Kentucky Mesonet and the nearest ARVIS station, and then pulling those temperatures back and then assigning those temperatures to the county. If the roadway temperature, since some of our sensors are not well maintained, if the roadway temperature is greater or less than 40 degrees from the Kentucky Mesonet temperature, we're saying that that's not a valid record, because we haven't really seen a valid case where there's a 40-degree temperature difference between the two. Going one step further, what we've got is now we start getting into our crowdsourcing data, and the hashed lines down here, I don't know if you can see them or not, those are our priority routes for snow and ice. So somewhat a little more weather related, but this will at least let you know if it's an A, B, or C route. An A route is going to be cleared every 1 to 2 hours. A B route is cleared every 3 to 6, and a C route is 8 to 10. So what you're also seeing is like 9 miles per hour. This is actually processed data from here. So we're taking here traffic jams. We're displaying the traffic information from the free Esri here layer, but then we have licensed here data that we're processing every 2 minutes, and we actually push that out anywhere there's a jam, and we calculate those speeds and the delay and push those out as well. So anywhere there's an actual jam, you can click on that, open that up, view it. We also have, if there's any Waze data, which I may or may not be turned on right now. Waze jams, here's jam. You'd see those as well. If there were a wreck, if there was a report of a wreck or anything on Waze, we do have a Waze, we have a partnership with Waze, allows us to push and pull data with them every 2 minutes. We've got traffic cameras, these things are up. So we can also, and I guess this is where some of the planning part comes in, we also have access to all the data. We're keeping all this historic data. We're not getting rid of anything. So any data that you see processed here, any traffic, crowdsourcing, social media, anything, we're keeping all of this data. So again, this is just a view. And some of this, like the roadway treatment layer, which we don't have our trucks out active right now, but during snow and ice events, what you'll be able to see is we have two layers that talk about or that display our AVL. We're going to have active AVL, so you can sit and watch trucks drive around. A lot of people do that. But then we also have a road treatment layer and a treatment decay layer. And what these two layers show you is that the first time over with the treatment decay layer, we actually apply the layer and then we slowly take off every 10 minutes. We're reducing the treatment on that layer. So the first pass that a truck makes over a roadway, we're showing how much salt was applied, how much money was applied, how much money was spent on that roadway segment. And then we apply since we're talking about 12-hour windows, according to our policy for treatment, we start that roadway segment with a 12, and then every 15 minutes, we start taking away from that. So you'll start to see 15-minute decays. So we've got 94,000 roadway segments, and we maintain all 94,000. So when all 94,000 roadway segments reach 0, it means the event is over or has been over for 12 hours. On the opposite side of that, the treatment count is kind of working at it from another angle. It actually is kind of a cheat heat map. It actually counts the number of treatments over a given roadway segment. So you can enable the treatment count layer, And that you can actually see during the entire event, maybe 3 or 4 days worth of activity. You can actually see where we've been and what we've been doing over the length of the
Great.
activity. Yes, sir.
This is an algorithm based, or is this manually based? How is the data collected?
All this is automated. We're trying to remove any human interaction whatsoever with data, because anytime we rely on a person to give us information, there's a delay. So everything we're trying to do is automated. So the AVL, the traffic, everything, we're processing all this information as quickly as possible and then just pushing it out. Accurate or not, we're pushing it out as soon as we can. The only manual process we're going to have, and we're not completely done with this yet, is that starting November the 1st, our 511 URL is going to go from our current 511 website to this. So we are going to accommodate our operators both at our TOC and Trimark. We have a roadway layer that's built that we're testing now that will allow people to add annotation to a roadway segment. So we've got our 94,000 roadway segments, and what we're going to do is identify the places where there are traffic jams or delays, and they'll open a separate screen and they'll actually be able to edit information on the roadway network that we've got sitting up there, and then any edits that are done on that roadway network will then be displayed on this map. That's still in the testing phase now, but it's extremely simple, and we're using the drop-down box they have to choose from. Currently 511, there's like 80 some odd statuses they can choose from. And what we're doing now is we're taking straight out of the federal regs, and we're saying these are the categories you can choose. You know, road or lane closure, weather event, traffic delay, and then, like a miscellaneous. And then they can just type in a miscellaneous note of something there. But that way for federal reporting and stuff, we'll know exactly what we've got. There's a limited number of categories. And that's, I guess that's kind of it. I can stop talking there unless there's questions. And we've got plenty of functionality here, as far as the map is concerned, heavy traffic delays you can query. There's plenty of stuff here, if you want to look at that. One key piece that I don't have to show visually, but we are starting to do more, starting to create connections between the different data feeds. So for example, here in Waze, we started out with email alerts to a group of us in ITS every time somebody reported an accident in Waze. So we just had tons of reports coming in, right? And then we also tried the same thing with here. We said, okay, well, anywhere there's a here traffic delay, go ahead and send us an email. Well, I mean, in Louisville and Lexington and Covington, you're getting emails just all day long. So then what we finally decided to do is, okay, let's just put these together. So now what we look for is a here traffic jam along with a Waze report of an accident. And these have been extremely accurate and extremely timely. So we're getting information 10 to 15 minutes ahead of time where like the PIOs and other people in the district are normally getting alerted to an incident. What we're able to do, since we're refreshing this data every 2 minutes, if there's a here traffic jam and then someone comes along and reports an accident in Waze, we send an alert, and that alert, at that point, what happens is we're running a spatial search. So we've got a traffic jam that's 5 miles long or 2 miles long. Then what we do is say, okay, there's an accident in this area. Now go ahead and summarize everything in the area. That way we have a better understanding. It's more of a holistic view of what's going on instead of just simply a single record of something. So if someone reports an accident, we also get every report of car on the shoulder, ice on the road, whatever it may be, to help us actually understand what's going on. We're also grabbing the speed data from here and from Waze. So, for example, let's say that the traffic jam in here shows it's still 60 miles an hour, but somebody reports an accident. We get an alert on that. Well, if it stays 60 miles an hour, maybe it's no big deal. Maybe somebody's misreported something. Maybe it's not truly an accident. But if the next 5 minutes from now, if you start to see that the speed has dropped, it allows you to alert people that need to see the information and make people more aware. So again, we're just trying to put all this together, make all this data mash together. And our AVL, we do a lot of stuff with AVL, but I really don't have time to get into that. We've got a whole process we do with AVL. We're going to be grabbing roadway and air temperatures every 10 seconds. We're going to be giving that information to the National Weather Service, so we can actually tell first responders and emergency vehicles what the temperature of the road is, and that may actually change their response times and their response speeds that they drive, operational speeds. And then the air temperature, we've got that'll be 1,400 sensors out on our roadway giving air temperature information back to NOAA and National Weather Service, and they're going to add those into their algorithms for forecasting and stuff. So anyway, we have a lot of stuff going on, and again, like I said, normally this takes me about an hour and a half to go through, and I'll shut up now. So.
How is this information available, like to central dispatch and some of the counties that aren't in the urbanized area, and then how is it available, if at all, to the public?
Currently, for the public, we have the real-time information through the map, and then we also have arrest services set up through Esri. So any county or city government can actually grab our services and aggregate this information in real time as well. So anything that we have. Now, the only thing we can't sub-license, we're paying for the HERE data. So that may be a little sticky. So we've got that password protected. And then the Waze data, according to our agreement, they have not allowed us the ability to sub-license yet, but I know that's on the table and they're talking about it. So we can, in the future, we'll be able to sub-license that also. And what we do with that data, we have a snapping algorithm that runs each and every time we get data. So we actually snap to and calculate probability. So, there's times where the GPS, it lands in the middle of a ramp, right? Mm-hmm. You've got your interstate and your interstate ramp, and then you've got your GPS point that lands in the middle. But we're also calculating heading. So we take into account the heading of the GPS reading, and then we calculate against both of those segments to determine which one it matches up with best. So we're getting about a 99+% snapping rate on our trucks and our Waze data now. So it's pretty accurate. But again, it's a couple pages of math. I'm not a math guru, I'm a computer dude. So
our central dispatch has a Twitter account. So if there's an incident on I-71 route in Oldham County, we get notice, 71 southbound mile marker 14 accident, all lanes closed. What if it was on a local street? Can you take that Twitter information? Mm-hmm. It's not a state road, which might have some additional information, but are you getting stuff from our Twitter accounts as well?
No, we would love to grab more information. Yeah. We want more information. Again, we're only processing 15, 20 million records per day, and we can do millions of records per second. Mm-hmm. So we're nowhere near what we could be if people wanted to contribute to this data.
We should talk about at least Oldham County and what we're doing out there and how we might be able to provide some information.
Okay.
And then
we would love
use
more partners. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, because we can snap that for you and push it back. We're actually going to create a web service, hopefully, that will allow other people to use our snapping algorithm and throw us a lat long in the heading, and you end up getting county route mile point back. Now, right now, we've been processing this information using our state road network, but we're getting ready to go to all roads network, which is a lot more segments. And the reason we're doing that is to track our salt usage, because our salt usage, we're going to be able to break that down and know exactly what subdivision, if someone throws salt on the wrong roadway or something, we'll be able to know that within 2 minutes that salt was applied on the wrong roadway. So we can actually call that driver and say, get off that route. Quit putting money at the 7-Eleven and do something else.
That's interesting. Stop taking care of your mother-in-law.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. If you're gonna clear a driveway, it needs to be mine.
Yeah. Great.
Well, I noticed that there are some icons on there for cameras too. Those
Yes.
direct feeds to Trimark, Artemis, and the state camera system.
Correct. Yes. Sorry.
And we aren't recording those.
Yeah. We're not actually storing those. I think our lawyers had some issues with that in the past, so we're just kind of we're grabbing these every couple minutes, but we're not actually displaying them, or we're not actually saving them.
So it's just a direct feed to whatever they have available.
Correct.
So you're tracking right now the state roadway system, but then when you get more permission, like with Waze, you'd be reporting accidents and delays on any roadway where it's reported?
Well, no. I'm sorry. That's incorrect. Sorry, misrepresented. We're grabbing information everywhere we have data. We're saving it. But as far as our snapping algorithms right now are snapping to state routes. We're not snapping to the local routes. So like salt, for example, if one of our trucks were out distributing salt on a neighborhood route that's a mile off of the state route, we're actually not going to, they still have the point. We have the saved point. We have the saved record. But it's not going to be snapped to a state route. So right now we've got records that are not being snapped to routes. They're literally just sitting out. So Waze, great example. Waze traffic jams, Waze reports of accidents. Absolutely, we're keeping everything. We're keeping everything, regardless if it's a city street, no matter where it is. We're keeping those records, but they're just not being snapped right now. Once we load up the all roads layer, we'll go back and start that. But our guy right now that handles that, he's actually on vacation he's from India, so he's taking a month off. He's actually going to India to visit his family for a while. So, Michael?
Chris, I appreciate your bringing up to speed on this.
Sure.
It's a tremendous effort that you guys have put.
Sure. Thank you.
I have a following thought and comment and maybe question. This appears to be more user-based data. Is there any effort being conceived to validate that data with either detection or through the TNCs at the regional level? And if not, that would be a potential future action that your group could take on to ensure that that data not only is validated, but when there is, say, a crash or an accident, there is a jam and there is a reason or a rationale. I love the way you came up and explained to us that there is I don't want to rob or borrow your term snap, but to grab the incident or to grab the action and manage it and have the editing process. And I like that from the standpoint of particularly crashes after accidents, spills, that sort of thing. So I echo most of what I said, everybody else has said. It's a pretty good tool to start connecting and coordinating, not only at the state level, but also at the maybe local level. Hopefully, not only is
We would love that.
bottom up, and I appreciate the comment on the Oldham County. Boyle, that's one. We've been fortunate enough to be working.
Yeah, and I'll speak to the reliability just real quickly. We do have reliability scores within here provides a reliability type score where the more probes they have, the more cellular units that they're detecting that are going that speed, that produces a higher reliability rating as far as just that one feed. And then Waze does the same thing. Waze has they have a user rating and a reliability rating. The user rating is, there's kind of a game inside of Waze. So the more often you report things, the higher level you are, and that kind of stuff. So there's gamification. Well, so the user rankings are 0 to 6, and the reliability rankings are 0 to 10. So if I'm a level 6 user of Waze and I report something, then my default report, if I report an accident, my default reliability is going to be a little bit higher because I'm considered a trusted person. Whereas baby Wazer, as they call them, a brand new Wazer, goes out and reports something, it's going to be a 0 and a 0. But what you can sometimes see in here, and this is the interesting part to watch the verification process, is that let's say a brand new user, you're seeing a level 0 user, but then you see a reliability of 10. And you may see it on 1-2 minute increment. When we refresh, you may see the accident to start with. So it's 0 and maybe a 1. And then in 2 minutes, it's 0 and then a 10. That means there's been about 9 people that have passed by that thing that gave it a thumbs up. So the reliability has spiked. So now you know from that if you have reliability of 10, there has to be people agreeing with that. Now, again, though, with crowdsourcing data, the thing you have to remember is that it's a perception of what's going on. And we do have you do have to take that into account. There has to be, it's kind of the softer skill. It's more of a psychology thing to be like, okay, this is what the user understands to be happening, not necessarily what is happening. We've had multiple issues on, and again, if I have PowerPoint, but where our TOC has said, well, the bridge is under construction. And so I got kind of frustrated because they pulled me into a meeting. They wouldn't have a meeting about it because all this inaccurate Waze data is going on 511. And I got a little frustrated. So I went out there, and I'm spiteful. So I go out there and I take pictures. And all over the road, we've got 6 signs that say road closed all over the place. So I came back and I said, well, what do you expect? Waze reports it as closed. You're saying it's under construction, but one lane of it was closed. So, and we've got 6 signs that were put up by our construction crew that say road closed. Use alternate route. So what am I expected to believe if I'm traveling on that route? I'm going to believe that the road's closed. I don't know that I can travel on that lane. I don't even know if the bridge is secure. So we have a lot of that, or people report like multiple reports of car on the shoulder and construction. And I called Lexington. I said, well, you've got a traffic jam out here. I just couldn't stand it. I'm like, this has been going on for an hour and a half. Please tell me what's going on. And the PIO said, well, we don't really have anything going on. Let me call. Well, sure enough, what happened is we had maintenance guys out that were doing a trimming on the roadway, on the side of the road. So again, they don't have a drop-down list for doing maintenance clearing shrub. It's construction. They see it, the public sees a big machine on the side of the road. There's traffic delayed, and so some people are reporting car on the shoulder, some people are reporting construction. But together, we're able to see multiple reports of that. Say, okay, something is happening. The public believes something is happening out there. There's got to be some piece of machinery out there, something going on. So let's check it. It may even be unpermitted utility work or something. We don't know. So, and again, that's something else we're going to add in. We're going to add in our permit work. That way we can track the performance of our permits and stuff. Because with a rolling roadblock, they only allowed a 15-minute delay. So we can actually calculate that delay and check on those permits. But yeah, so there's some reliability in that. And then again, having the layer where they can edit that information. Our TOC operators right now are trained to get accurate information, and that usually means they spend 30 to 45 minutes getting the information so it doesn't become timely. You lose your timeliness because you're so worried about accuracy or the inaccuracy of what you're reporting. Whereas what I'm trying to persuade them to do is show it to me first and then worry about adding information in later about being accurate. If I'm traveling between Lexington and Frankfurt, you've only got about 10 minutes to tell me to get off at the Georgetown exit to make it to work. So especially with the way I drive, you don't have that much time, to tell me even if there's a wreck at the Frankfurt exit. So timeliness, I think, is very important, and I think the feds could even go further than what they do with the timeliness part.
Is there, I'll call it a pushback Twitter, and I don't know if I just made that up. Is there a way of this pushing back information via Twitter?
We can post information automatically if those two things match up. Like, let's say here traffic jam and a Waze wreck appears, we can actually tweet that out automatically.
So it could go out to, like, say, our dispatch that has a Twitter account that sends out these things. You could actually tell them even before it gets noticed.
Or we can email you. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, that's great.
I want to do the same thing with the counties, county governments, to let them know that we're active in their area. Once we get AVL on the snowplows, I would like to email the county to say, state is now active in your area. You may want to activate.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I can see. I'm going to spend a half a day in Oldham County talking to the road department and dispatch and the judge's office.
Right. Give me a call. I'll be glad to spend a half day.
Great.
I like to hear yourself talk. Go ahead.
Kind of got that.
I think I heard something like that you will have this kind of live by November.
It is in production now. It's on production servers, so it's reliable. On November the 1st, the 511, I don't want to use the word replaced, but 511 will be switched to this.
That's the plan.
That's the plan. We're only renewing our 511 contract for 6 months. And the plan is on November the 1st, we switch over to this, and then we'll see what the performance is when we start getting the volume. And if it holds up, this will be the new 511 system.
I see Tim here, so I'm thinking, how can he use this?
We're using it now.
That's where I was. What's the status?
Yeah.
Of, the regional?
They get the alerts. So I mean, Tim can actually
alerts
speak to how
now.
accurate they are.
First people to do that. So yeah, we're using it now. see like our LEPC folks.
I just wanted to point out, in the agenda item, we talk about routes of significance. And that is a reporting requirement that we have with federal highways by November of this year. And it's really, I think the technology has really outstripped requirement. And at one time, we were looking at just the interstate system. And then the routes of significance would be any other probably limited access roadways that would be added to the interstate system. And we were approaching that with cameras and detectors. And now the technology has just blown way past that to where there are many, many routes beyond the interstate system being reported, in the real time. So I really appreciate you coming here today, and we're going to use this meeting and maybe some additional discussions that we have for us to document that I don't believe we're going to designate routes of significance because we're reporting on so much more than just the interstate system anyway.
Sure.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Makes sense.
Is there a physical requirement in the legislation?
Yes.
For the routes of significance designation?
Consideration of. So you have to report on the interstate system, and then there's supposed to be a collaborative effort to identify any additional routes of significance that you would want to add to the interstate system. And in fact, we have added like a 2-mile segment on the Gene Snyder. So there is one small segment of a route of significance in addition to the interstate system. But I don't think it's a useful exercise to identify anything else because we've gone so far beyond, the interstate system to the whole roadway system. But there is a November of 2016 reporting requirement that there was a collaborative effort to identify routes of significance in addition to the interstate system for the real-time traveler reporting. And so based on what I believe to be the agreement in the room and with the stakeholders, I think the report will probably be that there will be no official additional routes of significance identified.
So is that assurance coming from the state to federal highways, or is it?
It's from the state and the MPO.
Okay. So will the state be asking for something specific from us in that regard?
Well, I think that's what today is kind of leading to, whether it be formal or informal. I'm going to probably ask Tina to send me an annual update. We started this reporting in 2014, and we did it in 2015. So I think the 2016 report will hopefully document that with the stakeholders, which includes the MPO and the cabinet, that no additional routes of significance have been identified. Now, how we want to do that, is up to the MPO and the cabinet, whether it be through formal agreements or resolutions or just informal memos and collaborative understanding. And based on this presentation and our ongoing working relationship with Trimark, this is a mutual understanding of where we are and how we're going to report on this real-time traveler, which is far beyond what was envisioned when the regulations were written.
Well, I would think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think the MPO really needs to wait and see what the state is going to ask us to do in collaboration, whatever your reporting process is going to be, how we would contribute to that reporting process.
That's a little beyond what I need. What I need specifically is we have no more routes of significance to identify. But the actual agreement on the cooperation and the system that's out there, that's kind of above and beyond my specific reporting requirement. But it certainly is an important element to implementation of this system.
No, I don't mean we should have an agreement necessarily. I mean we have to have some acknowledgement from the state that the MPO concurs with the fact that there does not to be an additional designation for routes of significance.
Okay. Well, I think
Yeah, you can just send me an email and I can.
And that's
And I just write an annual report to them about what we're doing, and I would just put that in there this year.
And if we're going to do that, it should come from the TPC.
Okay.
It should come from the chairman of the TPC. So if you want to send me whatever kind of language that you want to have in that, we can take care of that at the meeting later this month, as a matter of fact.
Larry, I wanted to expand on the particular regulation that addresses routes of significance and it is 23 CFR 511.303.
Okay.
Okay, anything else on this discussion? All right, thank you, Chris. Next, Nick is going to talk to us about the bicycle and pedestrian inventory.
Well, before we do that, if we're going to take action, if the TPC is going to make a recommendation to make a resolution or to agree with whatever the state, we really need, this body needs to make a recommendation that we take that action at TPC. So if someone wants to make a motion that we, coordinating with the state, say that there's not going to be any additional routes added as routes of significance.
Can I ask a good question before the motion, or should I wait till after the motion for discussion?
Well,
Parliamentary procedures.
it's up to
Ask away.
Thank you. This area that's new to me, I'm not familiar with the routes of significance, is the designation of a roadway as a route of significance, or lack thereof designation, affect anything other than requirements for the real-time reporting? In other words, are there any type of other funding elements that might be affected by that designation, or is it simply just in the context of what we're requiring for the real-time?
Originally, like Greg said, originally it was envisioned that there was going to be a network of roadways that were significant,
Right.
that would be monitored.
Yeah.
Starting with the interstate system and maybe major arterials if it ever grew to that.
Mm-hmm.
What has happened though is that data is available now for every road in the world, basically.
I just want to make sure that the regulatory designation or lack thereof didn't impact anything else, because we're clearly well beyond the network at that.
The importance of the phrase routes of significance has diminished a lot.
Yeah.
Because every route is basically significant enough to have data on it now. But we just need to clarify that and as whatever regulatory process we need to go through with the state. But I do think if we're going to take action with TPC, that we need to make some kind of recommendation from this body.
How soon do you need this to be done, Greg?
November.
November? So, I mean, would it be, do we need a little more time to look into it and make sure that that's what we want to do?
We can. If you could, someone from the state could come to the next TTCC meeting and we could make that a little more clear. We'll just table it.
Yeah, if we get that wrapped up before November, that would meet our reporting requirements.
I think we can take care of it in August. Just
Yeah,
just table it for now.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do it in August. Okay.
Sorry.
Nick, talk about bikes and pedestrians for a minute.
Sorry, Nick.
So today I'm just here for kind of a brief status update on our efforts to inventory the bike and pedestrian facilities throughout the region, the 5-county region. First presented this to y'all back in April before we began, and at this point we're about 2/3 of the way complete, at least with driving the roads. So just to reiterate, so just to remind everybody, the primary goal here is to be able to have and create 2 separate GIS networks, one for bicyclists and one for pedestrians. There we go, thank you. For the entire 5-county metropolitan area. For this phase of data collection, we are focusing solely on those roads that are function classified as collectors, arterials, etc. So we aren't collecting information on the local roads at this point in time. Again, obviously the bicycle network will mostly include the bike lanes and sharrows, with the pedestrian network being comprised of sidewalks and crosswalks. So here is our schedule and kind of where things stand now. In April, we wrapped up Bullitt County and Oldham County. Those were relatively quick. There were only about 350 miles that we needed to drive. Over the last 10 weeks, we've been working on completing Jefferson County. We've already, I think, driven more than 800 miles in Jefferson County. And so we plan to wrap that up in the next, I'd say, week or so and move on to Clark and Floyd counties, which we hope to complete in August. We'll need some time to kind of process all the data, configure everything, and then we'd be coming back out to you guys in October to present our findings and show you the network and how it can be used and shared with everybody and maybe built upon. Again, just a quick map showing our progress. Everything in green, we've driven those roads. We've got downtown areas of Louisville still to finish this week and next. And then obviously all of Clark and Floyd. We've driven 1,100-ish miles, almost 75 miles per day, 2 to 3 times per week. And we still have about 600 miles to go. So briefly, I just kind of wanted to go over some observations that we've made during this process. Nothing too in the weeds or in the details for purposes of this meeting, but essentially we've kind of identified that there's obviously 3 very kind of distinct zones that we've been seeing, and mainly 3 being one, that rural fringe area where we see the existence of sidewalks depending on whether or not there's been development occur along that road. Very few, probably no bike facilities at all in those areas. In the suburbs, most areas, or many areas do have sidewalks. There's some consistency issues, but obviously these are built over time and there's different laws and codes that are in place during the construction of those facilities. And then the urban core, here, we see almost every street has sidewalks. There are still gaps in some places. Those are the areas where we're going to see bike lanes and bike boxes and things of that nature. But in general, these are kind of the 3 areas, and I don't think they probably blow anybody's mind about the types of facilities we're seeing. So I just kind of snapped a few pictures, just kind of briefly go over with y'all what we've been seeing. This is kind of an example of a rural fringe area where you can see on the far left-hand side a sidewalk that is actually running, a quarter mile along a retail strip development center. And so there's a brand new sidewalk right there. And we've got signalized crosswalks, so that's great. And then once a pedestrian crosses that crosswalk over to the other side, that pedestrian path ends. There's a lot of reasons for that, and that's not why I'm here today. But these are just some of the things we're seeing out in the field. On the other side of the street, there's no development, not a single building. So as you would expect, there's literally no sidewalks of any kind on that side. So again, just examples, and no judgments or why or why not. So in the suburban areas, we do see most areas or many areas with complete coverage for pedestrians. Here you can see sidewalks pretty much in any direction that a pedestrian would need to go. They're all paved. There are some inconsistencies you'll see sometimes in these areas with the type of sidewalk. You see on the right-hand side, we've got really kind of decorative pavers, and there's reasons for doing that. There's also concerns that we've heard from folks with disabilities and wheelchairs that those pavers actually inhibit them from getting along there and actually can get stuck in there quite often. But again, a paved decorative sidewalk is much better than a dirt path or a grassy area to cross. So they've even got the ADA tactile warnings in place on one of the curb cuts down there on the left-hand side. And then this is kind of just an example of maybe the most extreme of bike facilities that I've seen, at least. On the center left-hand side, you'll see a bike lane with essentially 2 white stripes, and then as it approaches the intersection, it's been painted green. I think that may have been somewhat recent. But then once it reaches the intersection, the green paint also turns left in front of the cars. This is known as a bike box. This kind of provides bicyclists a safe and visible way to get out in front of all the traffic. It also kind of increases the visibility of them for cars, and also can make it a little more efficient, group bicyclists together and get them all moving out at the same time, so they're not sporadically intermingling with the cars. So just another effective way to move bicycle traffic. But these are the kind of facilities we're seeing. Obviously in urban areas like this, there's certain crosswalks where stripings have faded and things like that. It's to be expected. These are much older areas, but I just kind of wanted to go over briefly the types of things we're seeing out there, the types of zones that we've identified, and we've got a lot more work to do, but hopefully in the next couple of months we can wrap that up. And again, next steps are to come back out to you guys in October, present the networks that we have, and then hopefully going forward from there, start working on gap identification. One, identify where gaps occur, where sidewalks are close in proximity, where they need maybe just a middle segment to connect them, and maybe even going further than that, also potentially a regional process that we need to have to kind of keep this network updated so that as new sidewalks are built, as new bike lanes and facilities are built or painted, that we are also tracking those and then sharing it with everybody in the region so that we're all working from the same picture. So that's my presentation today, and be happy to take any comments or questions.
One question I have.
Yes, sir.
When is that October 2016 date?
2016.
When?
Oh, when? I'm not sure of the exact dates myself, but I could get that to you after this meeting.
Second Wednesday.
So the TTCC will be the second Wednesday, so I don't know the exact date, and then TTC will be the fourth Thursday. Sorry, I'm a little new.
There are efforts, I don't know whether Thomas can talk a lot more about this, but there are efforts at the state level to kind of put together a ADA transition plan. And I see it is a pretty good avenue to coordinate those efforts together.
Absolutely.
State and regional to local level. And I think that's the reason why I was asking for it.
And I believe before we started this, we had a conversation with, I think, Troy Hearns and a couple other folks from the state about where they were heading to make sure we're on the same path and that our paths could converge seamlessly.
How often are you seeing those black boxes? Are they only?
I believe that's the only one that we've seen.
How many do we have now?
We got two.
We got two. Okay.
Yeah.
That was Spring and Melwood.
Yeah, we had the request for experiment.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes, it is. We submitted a report. I'm not that enamored with them, quite honestly. I think there's, but we're also, well, those are the full bike boxes. We're using smaller bike boxes to make turns from, so we've got several of those, Ralph. I don't know.
Yeah, they're not really a bike box, it's more or less just green pavement markings with green bars to highlight the conflict
6th Street
area where we have dedicated right turn lanes.
More like a guide almost.
Yeah.
Yeah, and downtown in Western, we've seen
Yeah, Muhammad Ali and Chestnut, 6th Street.
The green's been very effective though, and it's well received. I think it does seem to raise the awareness of the motorists that it's a
You can
space.
sort of get in them and it can sort
We're
of be
also
safe.
trying to establish criteria where we don't use it too frequently so that we get desensitize the motoring public and only use it where we have substantial conflict.
Thank you.
Other comments and questions for Nick?
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you, Nick. Okay, Lori, we are now going to talk about the Kentucky Water Transportation Advisory Board.
Sounds like we've been all over the board today. I'm gonna take a couple of these and pass them on down if you don't have them already. Please feel free. I'm gonna be pretty brief.
I think we've hit about every mode but transit and air today.
Back on June 14th was the last meeting of the Kentucky Water Transportation Advisory Board. Essentially, the purposes of the board is to provide guidance and advice to the executive and the legislative branches of the Kentucky government when it comes to river transportation, river freight. They also assist the state in their marketing efforts of the river ports and probably one of the more important functions is to recommend priorities of projects that they've reviewed that have applied for the Kentucky Riverport Improvement the Kentucky Riverport Improvement Program. It's also known as KRI. There are 7 members on that board. They have terms of 4-year terms. 4 of the members represent the Riverports, 2 of them represent other water industries, and 1 of them represents KBT. And as I said, they have 4-year terms. The Kentucky Riverport Improvement Program, in 2016, in their regular session, the Kentucky General Assembly appropriated $500,000 for FY 2017 and another $500,000 for FY 2018 for Riverport improvements. This program requires a 50% local match. Eligible activities include roadway surfacing, railroad rehabs, grain elevator rehabilitations, dock repairs, truck scale improvements, crane replacements. There's some other things that they've done as well. As you can see, what I've got up here on the screen, that's a graphic of our public riverports that are here in Kentucky, courtesy of KYTC. We have 7 active riverports. Those are the ones in blue. And then the ones that are in red, those are 5 more developing riverports that we're bringing online. And of course, here in the Louisville MPO, we have Jefferson Riverport International down in the southwest portion of Jefferson County. At the June 14th meeting, there were 13 projects submitted. All of them were determined to be eligible for funding from the Kentucky Riverport Improvement Program. The total requested amount of these 13 projects, it amounted to about $4.5 million. Remember, we have about $500,000 that are available. 7 projects were recommended to receive full or partial their funding request up to the available amount, up to that $500,000. And so those are improvements at the riverports in Hickman, Paducah, Eddyville, Owensboro, and Henderson. The list that you have in front of you and up here on the screen, you'll notice that the Jefferson Riverport was ranked 8th for another segment of railroad rehabilitation. This is replacing railroad ties for the railroad within the Riverport. They have received funding for this before, but this time they were ranked 8th, so they were just outside of the realm of getting any of the $500,000. And in past years, they've received over, since this came about in 2010, they've received over $200,000. And with that, I'll have you here for a second. I'd also like to plug the draft 2016 Kentucky Freight Plan. They extended their comment period. It originally was July 5th, and that has been extended to July 31st. Yes, it's a Sunday, but it's been extended to the 31st. So this is, no actions required on this. This was just for your information.
Questions or comments for Lori?
What does KRI stand for again?
Kentucky Riverport Improvement.
Improvements. And is that state, federal,
all
state funds?
Yeah, it's all state.
And the match, is that match that's provided by the Riverport?
Yes.
Okay.
Are the developing riverports not active?
I'm not sure of the status of all of them at this point. I know, for example, if I go back to in northern Kentucky, you could say, oh, wait a minute, there's port facilities up there. There are private port facilities up there, but apparently they have not, over the last several years, have not been active as a public port. And they are becoming so. And then, of course, to our south, downriver from us, we have Meade County coming online. There were some people who have come to the meeting before. I believe they were with the Marshall County to the south. They were with the Marshall County group trying to come online, actually trying to get some funds so that they could actually accelerate coming online.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have any other business to talk about today? Okay, then I'd take a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. Thank you all.